Trump says no ground troops in Iran as the Strait of Hormuz becomes a liability. Let's check it out. All right, welcome to Rob Schmitt Tonight. After a nervous Thursday and reports the administration was considering boots on the ground in Iran, Trump making a major clarification today that came as a huge relief for a lot of people, saying that a ground invasion would be a waste of time, saying Iran has lost everything. They've lost their Navy. They've lost everything that they can lose. The president just spoke to reporters about an hour ago with a brief update. Take a listen.
Their army is gone. They're just about, look, their Navy is gone. Their communications are gone. Their leaders are gone. 2 sets of their leaders are gone. They're down to their 3rd set. Their Air Force is wiped out entirely.
There's a lot of narratives that, a lot of people out there that want to stir this into, a disaster for him politically. There's a lot of outlets that want this to look bad. The truth, and it's undeniable, is that this is going very, very well. What they're trying to achieve here, whether you agree with it or not, is going very, very well. And Trump's comments rejecting a ground invasion came right after Iran's foreign minister dared the United States to invade his country.
President Trump has not ruled out boots on the ground in Iran. Are you afraid of a U.S. invasion in your country?
No, we are waiting for them.
You are waiting for the U.S. military to invade the ground troops?
Yes, because we are confident that we can confront them, and that would be a big disaster for them.
Big disaster for them, he says. If the Iranian regime was actually confidently awaiting a ground invasion, the foreign minister would never publicly say that, by the way, though. Why would you let the other country know that you want them to invade? It's because they are terrified that it happened, they'd be up the creek. Flexing hard as the mullahs there in Iran are so frightened that we learned they won't even name a new Ayatollah. That's the reality of the feeling in Iran. The foreign minister can flex all he wants. They won't even name a new Ayatollah. They don't have a supreme leader. That's a big deal, by the way. They're so sure that the United States will just blow him up, blow him right through the ceiling in a matter of hours once they do name that person. Trump posting on social media he is demanding an unconditional surrender from Iran, but telling Axios today that unconditional surrender doesn't necessarily require the regime to wave a white flag, because that's likely something that Iran would never do. After all, this is a regime that inspires suicide attacks. These are not the kinds of people that give up and care about their own livelihoods. Trump saying the end of this could simply be the moment that we realize this regime cannot fight on any longer, and that could be very soon. A reminder that the work being done to fully dismantle and destroy this cancer of Iran needs to be completed. Coming from Senator Marco Rubio 11 years ago, 2015, right as Obama's Iran nuclear deal was being signed, Rubio predicting the future perfectly.
They're going to build anti-access capabilities, rockets capable of destroying our aircraft carriers and ships. Continue to build these swift boats that are able to come on us, these fast boats that are able to swarm our naval assets. And they'll make it harder and harder for U.S. troops to be in the region. They'll also work with other terrorist groups in the region to target American servicemen and women. And they may or may not deny that they're involved, but they will target us and raise the price of our presence in the Middle East until they hope to completely pull us out of that region. They'll also continue to build long-range missiles, missiles capable of reaching the United States. Those are not affected by this deal, and they'll continue to build them as they've been doing. And then at some point in the near future, when the time is right, they will build a nuclear weapon. And they will do so because at that point they will know that they have become immune.
Something to see that 11 years later, right? It's exactly what's happened. Thank you for the JCPOA, Barack Obama. And it does look like this regime is going to end soon, and the end is rapidly approaching. Admiral Cooper yesterday announcing ballistic missile attacks are down 90% in 5 days. The kamikaze drone attacks are down 83%. Meanwhile, Trump is squashing concerns on American munition stockpiles, holding a meeting today at the White House with weapons manufacturers, agreeing to quadruple production of what he calls exquisite class weaponry. Also, a plan to ease oil prices that could perhaps help Oil prices have skyrocketed this week to $90 a barrel as thousands of oil ships are now paralyzed and unwilling to cross that very narrow strait right there on the screen, the Strait of Hormuz. Iran threatening to blow up any ships that try to remove oil from the Persian Gulf, which is just to the west of there. That holds 20% of the world's stock. So a lot of the oil in the world is trapped right near Iran. Trump announcing a $20 billion reinsurance program for tankers that are essentially now financially backed by the U.S. government. Now, that's good, but that's unlikely that will create enough incentive for most of these crews to go through there because at the end of the day, you're still risking your lives. Those tankers are going to need either naval escorts, which is another idea they're considering, or what's probably more likely, the complete obliteration of Iran's ability to do anything about the Strait of Hormuz, which is hopefully coming very soon. Decimate their ability to touch anything in the region, including in the Persian Gulf. Iran taking a heavy blow on its most valuable weapon as well. The kamikaze drones we just told you about, their strikes are down 83%. A warship the size of an aircraft carrier you're seeing on the screen that was possibly and hopefully carrying thousands of those kamikaze drones got a hole blown into its side on Thursday. Take a listen.
We hit an Iranian drone carrier ship, roughly the size of a World War II aircraft carrier, and as we speak, it's on fire.
And as we speak, it's on fire. That was yesterday evening. The War Department is now attacking underground bunkers in Iran that hold these drones as well. And new tonight, the Associated Press is reporting that the U.S. is sending an anti-drone system into the Middle East, one that has reportedly been very effective in Ukraine against Russian drones. There's obviously a lot going on here, right? And this is something that's making a lot of people very nervous. But for those who are nervous or critical of this war or worried about where this could go and how this could turn sideways, one thing to remember is that the Trump administration has been brilliant on Middle East policy. The Abraham Accords from the first term found the common ground between multiple Arab countries, Israel, and the West. And of course, that was money. This is why you put a businessman in the White House. Every country wants to be rich and prosperous, right? No matter what your ideology. Trump and the people that he surrounds himself with run the country and the world very effectively with street smarts. They've already totally reshaped the Middle East. They've completely isolated Iran from other countries all around Iran that share the same religion. That's already brilliant in itself. Unafraid to chart a completely different path that's not approved by DC think tanks, Trump has resisted a lot of war in the 5 years that he has been in office. Think about how much he's resisted. Trust Trump's resume in the Middle East. It has been better than anyone before him. Senator John Kennedy joins us now. Sir, good to have you here. Almost a week in at this point. Your thoughts tonight on Iran?
President Trump did not start a war in entering Iran. He is trying to stop a war. Our intelligence shows, this is also a matter of common sense, that the political leadership in Iran, they're religious zealots. Supreme Leader Khamenei, who now is dead as Jimmy Hoffa. I don't hate anybody, but I will shed no tears for him. But there are others. They were not going to ever stop trying to develop a nuclear warhead. No. And their game plan after we bombed them in June was to start over. They were starting over. They were manufacturing hundreds of missiles a month, and their game plan was to manufacture enough missiles with the help of China and Russia so that no one could attack them without them just blowing up the entire Middle East. Right. And we could not allow that to happen.
Yeah, they were working on taking Israel or the Middle East or the region hostage. It was the plan. Yes. And then they could get whatever they wanted. And yes. We prevented them from doing that. And there's a lot of people that are very angry about that. And
our goal, this is coming from our classified briefings, but it's not classified anymore because the Secretary Rubio's talked about it. Our goal is to destroy the additional efforts they were making to develop a nuclear warhead, to destroy or make them use up all their missiles and drones,
Right.
to destroy their manufacturing facilities for missiles and drones, to destroy their Navy, which we have done, to destroy all the infrastructure for their Army and the Revolutionary Guard, and then get out.
Yeah.
And we are making remarkable progress toward that end.
Yeah, Senator, I just want to ask you, how do you think that this war will end? Like, what do you think the end of it will look like? This is not an ideology that surrenders. These are guys that fight until they die or blow themselves up. So what ends this?
Well, of course, I don't know. I can't predict the future. I have to wait for it like everybody else, Rob. But I think the plan is to do just what I just said, and then leave. And hopefully, we will have undermined the religious zealots sufficiently and their army, so that the people of Iran can rise up and try to do something about it. I do not believe the president will put boots on the ground. I do not believe he wants to stay there permanently. I do not believe he wanted to do this. I think he had no choice.
Senator, thanks so much for coming on. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you.
Let's get back into this and talk strategy here on Iran with former Brigadier General Blaine Holt with us tonight. Sir, good to have you. Give us the broad overview of how you see this 1 week in.
Well, it's gone perfectly from a military aspect. President Trump has really managed the board because, to your point, Rob, the overarching strategic goal here is the Abraham Accords. And so what we can't have is a war that gets messy, dirty, possibly nuclear in between Israel and Iran. And we're moving to a place where we're not going to hijack a revolution. We're not going to put 130,000 forces on the ground like the failed attempts in Iraq and Afghanistan. Right. We're going to allow the opportunity for the Iranian people to do it themselves in conjunction with their new best friends, the Kurdish, that are now massing on the border and getting a little supply help, and we'll put some bombs where they need to. But this is the right direction.
The Strait of Hormuz is such a liability in this thing. I mean, you have a president that does not want oil prices to skyrocket, does not want the stock market to go down, does not want the economy to crash. What I'm trying to understand is, with Iran in the situation it's in, how are they even capable of making these threats and saying that they control the Strait of Hormuz when they're cowering in holes?
They don't control anything anymore. The Iranian Navy is finished. And so then you would say, well, if President Trump was offering insurance because Lloyd's of London won't, what's happening? Lloyd's of London is actually telling their customers, if you take the Trump insurance, we're going to mess with you in other ways. And here's a bigger problem. Lloyd's of London, nearly a monopoly in shipping around the world, can determine who winners and losers are. And they don't like being dictated to by President Trump. And the UK has been resistant every step of the way through this thing, from Diego Garcia and on. But President Trump is mastering this, and I think you will see naval escorts, and they'll be just fine.
So you think they're going to go naval escorts and they'll get through, and will that just relieve it? I mean, I guess at one point because if I was on one of these ships, I'd be scared to go through a strait and thinking there's going to be a bomb dropped on my boat.
They feel that way all the time. Every time you sail anything past Carge Island, you think you're at risk. And so I think that we'll see shipping get back to normal, because think about the strategic ramifications. We can't have oil going to $2.50 a barrel. That puts the Putin war machine back into business. And Xi Jinping is actually being very, very nice to the United States right now because of what is in play with oil. So look, it's a global war. President Trump is making the right moves.
Got it. All right. Brigadier General Blaine Holt, we appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Great.
White House says it has a plan for oil prices, and it could involve Venezuela. The Interior Secretary, Doug Burgum, just got back from Caracas. He joins us coming up next to explain. Plus, later in news from the left, Obama leaves Martha's Vineyard to cosplay as an inner-city pastor.
Each day we wake up to some new assault.
Information, truth is power, is freedom, is money. is health. Is Newsmax. Millions watch it. So can you. Newsmax is real news for real people.
Ready for relief? I just want relief.
I needed relief.
You just want relief. Like you just want it to go away.
You need the Signal Relief Patch.
We all hurt, whether it's our neck, back, knees, or shoulders. Pain keeps you from doing the things that matter most. In a recent study, 85% of people felt relief.
As a surgeon, I put it on, and I can't explain why it works. I can just tell you, it does work.
Some people think this is just in my head, but I know that it works. It's working.
The Signal Relief Patch for me offered up independence.
The Signal Relief Patch for me actually means pain relief.
With a Signal Patch, I've been able to sleep, walk, and work.
Relief. That's what the Signal Patch gave me.
It was phenomenal. Why aren't more people trying this?
Join the thousands who have experienced relief, and it comes with a money-back guarantee. Get your patch today.
What can $34 get you these days? It could send you overseas, drop you in your ancestral village, and give you a taste of your heritage passed down through the generations. It can open a whole new world of faraway places and fascinating people that make you who you are today. That's a big adventure for a small price.
If we have a little high oil prices for a little while, but as soon as this ends, those prices are going to drop, I believe, lower than even before. Further action to reduce pressure on oil is imminent, and the oil seems to have pretty much stabilized. We had it very low, but I had to take this little detour if it's okay with everybody.
Trump says oil prices taking a slight detour as he works to stabilize the Middle East. Crude closing above $90 a barrel today. That's up from 70 last week. So it is moving up fast. National average for gas at $3.32. It's going to tick up over the weekend. Absolutely. The Strait of Hormuz, as we said, the big concern, 20% of the world's oil sitting in the Persian Gulf has to go through there to get out. Iran threatening to blow up those ships that try. Qatar's energy minister warns the war in the Middle East could bring down the economies of the world and drive the price of oil over $150 a barrel. Politico reports the White House currently looking under every rock for ideas on improving energy prices, especially gas prices. The Interior Secretary, Doug Burgum, joins us tonight with more on that. Secretary, good to see you. This is the big liability, right? The economy. Trump likes a high stock market and low gas prices. What exactly are you guys doing to try and fix this issue?
Well, it's something President Trump started on a year ago, first day in office. I mean, he cares about affordability, reliability, and secure sources of energy for all Americans because he understands that energy is key to the economy. It's also key to national security. And just got back from Venezuela last night. Think of this, 2 months ago, Venezuela, who has the world's largest petroleum reserves in the world, larger than Saudi Arabia, and is, it's a 3-hour flight from Miami to Caracas. It's a 3-hour flight from Miami to New York City. I mean, this is literally right in our backyard. Yeah. Huge reserves. And, 2 months ago, they were a sanctioned adversary. Now they're a strategic ally. And we got oil flowing to the United States to the refineries on the Gulf of America coast. And we are not dependent on oil coming through the Strait of Hormuz. This country is truly not just energy independent, but under President Trump, energy dominant.
Yeah, and I understand that we would never run out of gas, but it's still a global market that we're involved in, right? So the prices can go up and will go up here, and they are going up here. So that's where it gets tricky. I'm not worried about that side of it, and that's what I think people are like, well, wait, hang on, I thought we were going to be energy independent and this wouldn't matter, but it still does because we buy and sell oil on a global market. And I have to think that even though we are secure in that way, and I think the Venezuela idea was brilliant. But there has to be some concern about the Strait of Hormuz, and I imagine that they're working furiously at the White House to try and figure out a way to relieve that and get that strait open again and get ships moving through it, right?
Well, yes, and under President Trump taking a bold, decisive, and courageous leadership to really rid the world of a nation state built around terrorism.
Right.
And we watched them over the last few weeks killing tens of thousands of their own people in their streets. We've watched them attack their neighbors across the Middle East. We've watched them chant about destroying Israel and America for decades. And President Trump sees an opportunity to just take that threat off the map for the world.
Yeah.
So when he says Trump says it's a temporary detour, we deal with this thing for a period of time now, and then the energy prices are going to be lower in the world I don't want to say forever, but literally it's going to change the world. And so this is absolutely the right strategy. Our military is executing beautifully against this. And yes, it is a global market, but the market's really well supplied right now. The person who really has to worry about this is China. China imports 11.5 million barrels of oil a day. About half of that comes through the Strait of Hormuz. Almost zero of U.S. energy comes through the Strait of Hormuz. So, but guess what? China's built up a big reserve.
Yeah.
They've got enough oil floating either onshore or offshore. They've got like 110 days of stored. And then certainly before that time, what President Trump said earlier this week was we released it from the White House that we're going to have insurance and we're going to escort ships out of the Strait of Hormuz. We're going to get oil flowing again to these markets to calm them going forward.
So that's the plan, is to get it open, to get Iran to the point where they can't hit, and get that back open. Hopefully in the near term, in the next week or two, oil prices come down after that.
The way you block a strait is you do it with your Navy. They had 32 Navy ships. They're all on the bottom. They're all on the bottom of the ocean. They've been wiped out in 6 days.
Okay. One real quick final question: was China a part of this equation when the decision was made to go into Iran, or is that just an added bonus that it also negatively impacts our greatest adversary?
Well, China's always on the map, and when they were buying gas from Venezuela at 30, 40, and 50% off the world price. Now, if they buy from Venezuela, they're paying world price. So it is. We're always thinking about China when we're thinking about decisions that are made in this administration.
Secretary Burgum, good to see you. Have a good weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob.
Closer look at oil now. Peter St. Onge, the senior economist at the Heritage Foundation, joins us now. Obviously, we're going to have optimism coming from the administration on this. How do you feel as you look at the price of oil in the near term here the next month?
Yeah, it's pretty rough. We just had the biggest rise since really the 1970s, the oil crash back then. And the key here is, how long does this war last, right? If it is a 4-week war or an 8-week war, it's going to largely bounce off the economy. If, on the other hand, this keeps going, the oil prices alone are going to start hitting jobs, maybe to the order of 20,000 a month. They're going to hit inflation. They could be about, just on the oil price rise we've had so far, that could be about 1/3 to 1/2 point of inflation. This is going to start wreaking havoc. That is then going to carry on through the midterm. So I think that Trump knows, the two most toxic prices in the entire economy are gasoline and food.
Yeah.
That's why they stripped them out for core inflation. They want to say, don't look at these. They know that those are toxic. As you mentioned earlier, he is throwing the kitchen sink at gasoline prices right now.
You imagine that this administration right now is furiously looking for a way to get that strait open. That's probably their top priority.
I think without a doubt, he knows that's gonna crash everything.
Right. Real quick before I let you go, February jobs report came in rather ugly. Economy lost 92,000 jobs in February. Expectation was to be plus 58,000. Peter Navarro, though, sent me an interesting write-up that he did today. February was a really bad month. You had half the country frozen under like a foot of snow. That had to have had some kind of an impact?
It did. The expectations were 50,000 growth in job. What we actually got was 90,000 loss.
Yeah.
Those one-off things like the cold weather, there was a healthcare strike in California. Those were maybe about 50 of that. You still got about 100,000 job miss. That's a big deal. This Iran war, if it goes on too long, it's not going to help it. The other question is whether AI is finally starting to show up in the numbers, especially for young people, for new grads. We're starting to see numbers on that. If that's the case, deportations have helped young people finding entry-level jobs, but they're going to need a lot more help.
AI, when it does show up, it's going to hurt because, we don't even really know. And you think about how much money's moved that way, you can tell it's going to be big. Peter St. Onge, thanks so much. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Rob.
Major win for Health Secretary RFK, and MAHA medical schools are finally waking up. We got that next.
Newsmax.
Shoots it straight. No talking down to me.
Don't tell me how to think.
Don't tell me how to think.
Don't tell me how to think.
I trust Newsmax. Newsmax.
They don't tell me how to think. They let me decide.
Real news for real people.
I lost 110 pounds. You couldn't tell it all because of my excess skin. Sono Bello changed that in one visit.
Introducing the new Lift EX, the just one visit, total body transformation everyone is talking about.
I am super happy with my results.
I decided to give Sono Bello a try. Look at me, I have a silhouette. You can see my waist.
Lift EX is Sono Bello's breakthrough 360-degree body lift alternative. Our body contouring experts sculpt, tighten, and lift your stomach, waist, thighs, and backside, all in just one visit with less downtime.
Sono Bello targeted the areas diet exercise could not do. I found me again.
Sono Bello has over 50,000 five-star reviews, and Lift EX is exclusively available at Sono Bello, America's #1 cosmetic surgery specialist. Book your free, personalized consultation today. Easy monthly plans make your best body more affordable than ever.
This year is my year thanks to Sono Bello.
Call Sono Bello for your free consultation today.
What if your GLP-1 for weight loss was as easy to take as a mint? Small, discreet, and easy. Think about that, no needles. This is compounded tirzepatide, a mint-flavored tablet designed to fit into your daily routine. You simply let it dissolve under your tongue. No mixing, filling, or storing your own syringes. Tirzepatide helps curb appetite and supports healthier eating by reducing cravings, including for sweets and carbs. And when your appetite feels under control, it can make it easier to eat less and move intentionally towards your weight loss goals. If weight loss has been on your mind, this may be the needle-free option you've been looking for. A simple daily tablet, as easy to take as a mint. Getting started is fast and surprisingly accessible. Just complete a quick online physician consultation. Here's how.
Save $50 with promo code SLIM at noneedles.com/slim. That's promo code SLIM at noneedles.com/slim.
Total Beats, America's best-selling Beats brand, is available at Walmart. Total Beats blood pressure support soft chews contain a key ingredient clinically shown to deliver 2 times better blood pressure support. Take control of your health. Head to Walmart and get Total Beats blood pressure support soft chews today.
You might take something for your heart. You might get support for your joints. Or even use something for your digestion. So why wouldn't you take something for the most important part of you? Your brain. People all over the country take Prevagen for their brain. In fact, Prevagen has been the #1 selling brain supplement nationwide for over 10 years. The most important supplement for the most important part of you. Try Prevagen for your brain today.
When my mother heard about Pure Talk's latest offer, she said, "Michael, that's 1/3 of what I'm paying my current provider. How's that even possible?" I said, "Ma, your current provider spent $12 billion last year on advertising and promotion. Pure Talk hired me to make a few commercials on my iPhone. That's why you can get unlimited talk and text with plenty of data on a crazy fast 5G network for just $25 a month. You're welcome. Pure Talk, everything you need, nothing you don't."
I'm pleased to announce a transformative breakthrough in medical education that will reshape as the way that we train doctors in our country and deliver on President Trump's promise to end the chronic disease epidemic in America. More than 30,000 physicians each year will now graduate equipped with nutrition education to help prevent, treat, and reverse chronic disease.
Big announcement there. More than 50 medical schools in the country are now going to embrace a federal framework for nutrition education. Let's keep ourselves healthy before we get sick and need big pharma to cure it. This framework recommends 71 competencies, including understandings of nutrition deficiencies, food allergies, or even dietary supplements, and wearable devices like glucose trackers. Kennedy says schools are doing this mostly of their own volition. They're not being forced. But there are high-profile schools like Harvard, Columbia, and Brown, Ivies, that have butted heads with the administration that are declining to endorse Kennedy's initiative, as you would expect. Jillian Michaels is the host of the Keeping It Real podcast. Max Laugavere is the host of the Genius Life podcast, and both join us tonight. Good to see you guys. Jillian, I love this, right? Let's actually fix the people instead of making more drugs.
Can I give you a quick little history lesson about this?
Please.
At the turn of the 20th century,
doctors used to learn about and teach nutrition. And John D. Rockefeller actually had it removed from medical schools so that he could patent petrochemical pharmaceuticals. So this is very long overdue. It's something we should have been doing all along, something we used to be doing, and for nefarious incentives, stopped doing it. So I'm pretty excited about it.
I appreciate that history because I didn't know that, and that's very twisted.
Crazy.
Max, your thoughts?
You know?
It's twisted.
No, I'm super excited. The vast majority of chronic health conditions that Americans are being saddled with today have their origins in diet and lifestyle, and food is a form of medicine. And so the more that we can encourage this kind of education, I think it's a wonderful thing. I mean, this is not a partisan issue. This is not an ideological issue. This is just the fact that many of our health conditions in the past used to be maybe viral, maybe genetic, infectious in origin, but today the vast majority are conditions like obesity, like type 2 diabetes. And those conditions very clearly have their roots in the food environment. So more nutrition training for our doctors, I think, is a win.
Jillian, do you think that a lot of the pushback to this line of thinking and a lot of the things that Kennedy wants to do is because, obviously big food is so big because we have such a big country. And I think there's people that say, well, we have to feed 350 million people every single day.
I think that there are financial incentives behind the pushback because there's no money in prevention, but there's a heck of a lot of money in treatment. And you hear doctor after doctor talk about how they got zero education in this. Again, that's why I gave you that little history lesson so you understand it was done on purpose. It was for a reason. And now mandating this, or at least attempting to, is going to go such a long way, as Max just talked about, in preventing these diseases before they start.
I love that. Want to get you one more before I let you guys go. Trump yesterday throwing anti-trans surgery provisions into the Save America Act. No transgender mutilation surgery for kids any longer. Part of this act he's really trying to push. This comes right after Letitia James in New York is now trying to force NYU Langone to reinstate those surgeries after they axed the program in February. Max, how despicable is that move by Letitia James, and how honorable is the push to try and stop these surgeries from little kids?
Yeah. Keep your hands off of our country's children. There's a huge social contagion aspect to this, and it's awful. So, yeah, I'm very much in favor of the current administration's approach towards this issue.
Well said. Jillian, the final thought. Go ahead.
Final thoughts, both the American Medical Association and the governing body for plastic surgeons have turned around and said they won't do this anymore. Again, the financial incentives behind this are nefarious. This is disgusting. It sterilizes our kids. It impacts their brain development, their bone development, and we do know this. So the more we talk about it, the more we make people aware, and the more we fight back, the better chance we have at saving the thousands of kids that could undergo this procedure and deeply regret it.
Yeah, well said. Jillian Michaels, Max Laugavere, thanks so much, guys. We appreciate it. President wants to choose Iran's next leader. Michael Savage, next. Everybody's reporting the same stories, the same spin. You turn the channel, it's always the same. But not us, we're different. We report the real news, no spin, just the facts. Turn to us, and you won't turn back.
Tune in to Rob Schmitt Tonight on Newsmax.
Don't kibble your dog.
Oh, hey, Dr. Marty.
Hey, Matt.
But what's wrong with this? It's premium stuff.
Let's check it out. It's still kibble, which means it's ultra-processed at extremely high temperatures that destroy the nutrients in the food. But at Dr. Marty, we gently freeze-dry premium meats, fruits, and vegetables, locking in their nutrients.
Never kibbled.
You got it, kid, and they're gonna love it.
You woke up with a sore throat and a low-grade fever. You know you are getting sick, so here's your choices. You can get sicker and miss work. Try to see a doctor this week, or sit hours in a crowded waiting room at urgent care.
I have a smarter option for you. Open your medical emergency kit. Match your symptoms to doctor-recommended prescription in your booklet and take the right meds now and get well faster.
This is not a first aid kit. It's like having an urgent care in your home. It includes doctor-prescribed medications to treat over 39 medical issues like respiratory infections, strep throat, pneumonia, UTIs, and more.
No waiting to see the doctor and no standing in line at the pharmacy. It's right here.
Every home should have at least one medical emergency kit, and here's how to order.
Order online and save $45. Your kit to treat dozens of common and serious illnesses is rushed to your door. Visit urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code NEWS. That's urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code NEWS.
Dog grooming genius here. No, over here. And I live for operational excellence. Cute makeovers? I see a shop in sync. Thanks to Genius. Scheduling personalized. Checkouts flawless. Real-time reviews for the win. From game day crowds worldwide to running this shop. Perfectly executed. Big league reliability for any business. That's Genius.
As a neurologist, my patients are often concerned with age-related memory decline. I recommend Cunol Brain Health with 2 powerful, high-absorption ingredients clinically shown to improve memory, focus, attention, and more. Cunol, the brand I trust.
The Wall Street Journal said silver could be the trade of a decade.
Eric Sprott said $250 to $500 an ounce is entirely possible.
Gold recently surpassed its inflation-adjusted all-time high. Silver's inflation-adjusted all-time high is $209 an ounce.
And silver went up 1,300% from 1974 to 1980. Silver's got a lot of room to run.
Give Patriot Gold Group a call at 1-800-778-4156.
Patriot Gold Group is Consumer Affairs' top-rated gold and silver dealer nationwide. The only firm nationwide where you, the client, work directly with an owner. Home of the no-fee-for-life IRA. See how easy it is to protect your IRA with physical gold and silver.
Call now, 1-800-778-4156.
Big question, what happens next in Iran? President Trump says he must be involved in picking the new leader after taking out the Ayatollah Khamenei, ending his decades of oppression over the Iranian people. We've got Dr. Michael Savage with us tonight, calling the president the modern-day General George Patton. And, sir, good to have you here. Talk about that comparison and your thoughts on Trump choosing the new leader of Iran.
Thank you very much, Rob. When Trump, just before the attacks, he gave a speech. Trump did. I was stirred by it. And I was reminded of a Patton speech. It's just like one paragraph, if I can read it, where Patton said this in a speech to the Third Army on the eve of the Allied invasion of France in 1944. And it was eerily similar to what Trump said at the beginning of this campaign. Here's what Patton said on that evening. He said, "I don't want to get any messages saying I'm holding my position. We are not holding a darn thing. Let the Germans do that. We're advancing constantly, and we're not interested in holding on to anything except the other enemy's testicles." And he said, our basic plan of operation is to advance and to keep on advancing regardless of whether we have to go over, under, or through the enemy. We're going to go through him like waste product through a goose. General George S. Patton, speech to the Third Army on the eve of the Allied invasion of France, 1944. Now, having said that, it's very stirring, Rob, but I don't expect a quick victory. I didn't at the beginning of this, and I don't expect it now. I, unfortunately, think this is going to be closer to Japan than it is to Venezuela. And I've said that from the beginning. You know better than I.
They're not going to give up.
Iran is a country of 80 million people. These people are deeply embedded in 3 layers in that country. Not only the RGC, not only the military, but the police on the streets. They're not going to give up just because Trump says give up. And Japan, although it had been defeated militarily, did not give up, even though the U.S. kept saying, we want you to concede total defeat. The Japanese military refused to do so. It was a fanatical nation that believed in the emperor, and it was only after not 1 but 2 nuclear bombs were dropped on Japan that Japan decided to surrender. This is the horrible reality of what I'm afraid of, and I don't know that just scaring them, yelling at them, screaming at them is going to bring them to their knees. I'd like to hear it. I'd like to go along with all the optimists who say, yes, they're going to buckle. I don't see it happening.
I think they're waiting for, I think what it's going to take is this big fracture, of either the IRGC or something's going to have to break up and say, all right, we're going to kick the mullah's out. We're gonna completely revamp this. Well, some capitulation of that manner. We had a guest on that was talking about that, how you have the ideologues, right? The fanatics, those are the mullahs. But the people that actually secure the country, a lot of them don't buy into all of that, and they're just there because they're in power. If that fractures and if you can pull the IRGC or leadership from them away, say kick the mullahs out, we'll let you run the country, you do have technically an end of a terror regime.
That's an optimistic view.
Yeah,
I know. I hope that occurs. But as I understand it from people I've spoken with who are experts on the country, who are in the military, the least fanatical in Iran, the least fanatical with weapons, are the police. You have to start with them. Now, the question is, will the Iranian police force have the guts to risk their own lives in coming over to the enemy as the IRGC see us? We're the enemy. And if the police force were to say, well, we're going to cave in, I think they decimate the police force and their families. I don't think this is going to go the way we all want it to go, as quickly as we want it to go. I'm not the optimist here who's going to say, yes, sure, I hope it does. But I have to repeat, this is closer to Japan in its fanaticism, as I see it, a different sort of fanaticism, but still a medieval, less than a medieval. It's a 7th century mindset, not even a medieval mindset. And I don't think you're going to move a 7th century mindset simply by threatening them.
75% of the country, I think, hates that regime. But I just, we have to see where that goes. I don't disagree with you. I think this is a big risky move they're making here. I'm trying to be optimistic because I want this to work. But I understand your concerns. I got to leave it right there, though.
Well, we all do. I mean, we support the war. We support Trump, and we love the technology. And we're all very happy in the beginning. But they're not showing any signs of capitulating, are they?
No, it's been 6 days and they're getting their asses kicked, but they haven't shown signs of capitulating yet. But we will have to wait and see on that. It's been 1 week. They said give it a month. So I do have to leave it there. Dr. Savage, good to see you. Thanks so much. Take a listen.
I wanted to wait a couple of weeks, but we'll be together again soon, I suspect, celebrating what's going on in Cuba. They want to make a deal so badly.
All right. Talking Cuba again, that was yesterday at the White House. Is Cuba the next oppressive regime to fall? Trump has said this a couple times this week, especially after decapitating Venezuela, cutting off Cuba's money line. Dick Morris with us now. And what are your thoughts on where Cuba goes, sir?
Well, I think that Cuba is clearly Trump's next target. And I think that the capture of Maduro and the cutting off of oil supplies to Cuba is really a lethal threat to this regime. And I don't think it can continue to exist without oil. I think there'll be a left-wing humanitarian so-called effort to get oil shipped to Cuba, but I don't think the oil companies or the American people are going to buy that. And I think that the entire process of history, as manifested and begun by Trump here, is probably has the signs painted on it of a Cuban collapse.
Yeah, I didn't know so much about Cuba until we started learning more about Venezuela and the operation there and how much it leans on Venezuela for the survival of this little island. And now Venezuela is effectively our colony. So that's an interesting take. We're going to have to see. Dick Morris, good to see you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right. Austin Police Department releasing body cam footage showing incredible bravery and swift action by police after a jihadist shooting from last weekend. There he is right there. Ndiaga Diagne from Senegal opening fire at a bar full of college students. You see him walking around a parking lot prior to the shooting wearing his Property of Allah sweatshirt. Then you see there at the top, the red circle, that's him. Cops move in, boom, boom, boom. Down he goes. Savita Shan, Ryder Harrington, George Peterson losing their lives that night in what was a clear act of terrorism. You can see this is another clip right here. This is where they're moving in. They're screaming, where is he, where is he, where is he? They spot him. And then this is another image of shots fired, and in the distance he drops. Just here in a second. All right, coming up here, and there's a moment right there. After the break, another rough week for this one. Stay tuned.
He's bleeding. Okay,
Again? Nearly 5,000 people die from choking each year. That's frightening. I'm Dr. Ben Carson.
And I'm Arthur Lee. Well, there are ways to help prevent choking. Accidents do happen. That's why I invented the LifeVac.
Anyone can use this device, and it can save a life in seconds.
Just place, push, and pull. It's that simple. Please order one for your home, office, car, anywhere you eat.
Go to lifevac.net or call 877-543-3822.
I wish I could just watch live sports at home for a great price.
Sling lets you do that. Sling lets you do that.
Choose and customize your channel lineup or pause and watch for free. Sling lets you do that. Base package required.
Like a relentless weed, moderate to severe Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms can keep coming back.
Break away to what's possible with Tremfya.
The only IL-23 blocker for Crohn's and UC to offer self-administration from the start.
With symptom relief as early as 4 weeks, remission at 12 weeks, 1 year, and even 2 years.
Some had visible healing of their intestinal lining. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and TB. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Healing is possible with Tremfya.
Backed by over 15 years of clinical research. Ask your doctor about Tremfya today.
Pump up the volume.
Go ahead. Crank the volume. We got you. USPS has increased daily package processing capacity by 46% in the past 5 years. And with USPS Ground Advantage, your packages stay in our secure network, dock to door, nationwide. For full visibility, near real-time tracking, affordable pricing, for peace of mind. USPS Ground Advantage.
Get ready for spring now at Blue Compass RV with RV show prices at over 100 locations coast to coast. Forest River Auroras from $98 a month. Alliance Delta Solos from $198 a month. Or Jayco Greyhawks from $744 a month. Save on the largest selection of America's premium brands with RV show prices on over 15,000 new and used RVs. Hurry to Blue Compass RV. Shop online or in store today.
Super Beats by Human just got an upgrade. Introducing our bold new packaging. Same science, same trusted results. Founded in partnership with the University of Texas. This is modern cardiovascular support. Only human.
Welcome back. Time now for news from the left. You know, Obama spends most of his time at his big house on Martha's Vineyard, literally the whitest island on planet Earth. But today he traveled to Chicago, Reverend Jesse Jackson's funeral, and of course he transformed into an inner city pastor.
Each day we wake up to some new assault on our democratic institutions. We're told by those in high office to fear each other and to turn on each other. Everywhere we see greed and bigotry being celebrated and bullying and mockery masquerading as strength.
Greed and bigotry. Did he have to take off his Tommy Bahamas, his yacht shorts, and put on his black suit and go to the funeral in Chicago? Good old Obama, stirring it up as always, getting the last laugh in his $20 million house, again, on the whitest island on the planet. Next up, the left's liberal icon, Jennifer Welch, with the face, going on a profanity-laced rant at the Gay Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation Awards, the GLAAD Awards, maybe you've heard of them, nonprofit Marxist gay group, like so many others out there. Welch, with the face, winning Most Outstanding Podcast Episode.
I want to say something with my full chest. Never obey in advance. Guys, Donald Trump, free Palestine, and save trans kids.
People are so embarrassing. And they take themselves so seriously with that face. Next up, a Capitol Hill hearing revealing how deep DEI initiatives were embedded into the State Department when Joe Biden was the president. This might be the weirdest soundbite of the week. Congressman Brian Mast questioning Trump's Undersecretary of State for Public Diplomacy. Her name is Sarah Rogers, asking her what exactly they were trying to do in the State Department under Joe Biden with our maps.
Can you tell me what is queering the map?
So I think we were trying to make the maps more gay.
Literally?
How
do you make a map more gay?
I mean, especially
or
with
gay
AI,
at all?
you know, since the age of cartography, we've had pretty good maps, but maybe they weren't gay enough. I do understand that the maps that we were trying to make gay were, I think, of Czechia and Slovakia, so maybe those countries asked for it. I doubt it, but I don't know.
The Slovakians are asking the State Department for gay maps, is one theory about why you would do something called queering the maps. Never heard of anything so stupid. But it's another reminder that when you send this gigantic pile of money, we send $5 trillion to the government every year, and some of the stupidest people in our country are managing that money. So you get things like this, and that's not even, I mean, what Rand Paul does every year with the Festivus and all the money wasted. I mean, there's nonsense like this everywhere. Think about that when you're doing your taxes right now. Think about where that pile of money is going. Queering the maps. And finally, Meghan Markle getting hammered yet again. Netflix officially cutting ties with her lifestyle brand as ever. Even a pretentious lifestyle brand name, of course. Partnership between her and the streaming giant just launched last year, focusing on products, home goods, and other essentials. Industry source telling Page Six her show did not go on, so it did not make sense to continue the partnership. The most obnoxious girl, maybe in the world, had a rough week. Oh well. Coming up here after the break, American leftists and Islamists are mourning the Ayatollah in this country, and they did it today right here in New York. So we went to talk to them, and that's up next.
You know Rob Finnerty. He's smart, bold, and stands strong for your values. Rob is fighting for you. Watch Finnerty weeknights only on Newsmax.
Kevin Sorbo here, and I have an important message to share. The government needs more money, your money. If you owe the IRS back taxes, they can garnish your wages and levy your bank accounts. They can even seize your retirement or take your home. Don't let the IRS target you. Call the professionals at Tax Network USA. Their tax lawyers and enrolled agents are experts in powerful programs that may even help you eliminate your tax debt.
Call for a free consultation or visit tnusa.com.
What if you're sick at home or traveling and can't get medical help or prescriptions? Doctors say a medical emergency kit is the answer. Joining me is Dr. Drew.
Thank you. And yes, these kits put you in charge of your health. They come with physician-prescribed medication to treat multiple common and some serious issues as well.
What are some examples?
Sure. Generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, other essential antibiotics and antivirals that treat flu, pneumonia, strep, ear infections, sinus infections, urinary tract infections, and more.
So it is like urgent care and a pharmacy at home?
Exactly. No waiting, no pharmacy, no co-pays. You feel better faster and avoid serious complications.
How do you know what medicines to take?
You just match your symptoms to the doctor-written guide or schedule a quick telehealth call.
Sound advice. Order online in minutes at the website below and save $45. Thank you, doctor.
Visit urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code news.
Ready for relief?
I just want relief.
I needed relief.
You just want relief. Like you just want it to go away.
You need the Signal Relief Patch.
We all hurt, whether it's our neck, back, knees, or shoulders. Pain keeps you from doing the things that matter most. In a recent study, 85% of people felt relief.
As a surgeon, I put it on, and I can't explain why it works. I can just tell you, it does work.
Some people think this is just in my head, but I know that it works. It's working.
The Signal Relief Patch for me offered up independence.
The Signal Relief Patch for me actually means pain relief.
With a Signal Patch, I've been able to sleep, walk, and work.
Relief. That's what the Signal Patch gave me.
It was phenomenal. Why aren't more people trying this?
Join the thousands who have experienced relief, and it comes with a money-back guarantee. Get your patch today.
So,
Here is a before of my stomach before Sonobello, and this is after.
This year, don't just lose weight, lose stubborn fat and sagging extra skin permanently at Sonobello.
I had some loose, wiggly skin, and it is no longer there thanks to Sonobello.
Our expert surgeons use micro laser technology to safely target and remove your diet-resistant fat and tighten loose skin permanently.
I wanted the results of the tummy tuck, but not the downtime. I had a 10 out of 10 experience.
We've helped over 300,000 people transform, and we're proud to be America's #1 cosmetic surgery specialist.
In just one visit, Sonobello got rid of my love handles and my belly fat.
Do you want that flat stomach? You go get that flat stomach. Call Sonobello. Get in there for your free consultation. Do this for you.
Schedule your free, no-obligation consultation. Our flexible payment options make it easy to get started today.
Finally tonight, we've seen a lot of despicable behavior in this country, and in Washington Square Park in New York City tonight, more of it. We have leftists, look at them covering their faces like a bunch of pansies, mourning Iran's Ayatollah. All these people should be deported, in my opinion. I don't even care if they were born here. We sent our producer, Brent, there earlier today. Take a look.
Ayatollah Khamenei is dead, and his bombs currently fall on Tehran, 6,000 miles away here in New York City. Liberals are flocking to mourn his death. You believe that?
I believe anything. This is New York.
Maybe an odd choice for people to come mourn his death?
It's surprising. I mean, he hasn't been good to his people.
It's Washington Square Park in the West Village. Everything goes.
This isn't like the first time that people have sympathized with the other side.
If someone wishes to mourn another's death, despite their actions in life, then they should do so.
He kills protesters.
Of course, yeah.
And they don't see that.
No, people are blind to a lot of stuff.
He seemed like a dreadful person.
Who is this?
Is it the guy that just got bombed?
He was the leader of Iran.
Ayatollah Khamenei.
Oh, him. I have no idea.
The Iranian leader.
What's his name?
Who died, yeah, Khamenei.
I think he just died, didn't he? Got killed. You're dead.
Who is this guy?
He looks familiar, but no.
Not by face, no.
It's the past leader of Iran.
How do you pronounce his name?
I don't know how to pronounce it.
Khamenei with the silent K.
Okay, yeah, Khamenei.
I can't pronounce that name.
I don't think it was up to Trump whether he's alive or not.
What about like when Barack Obama killed Osama bin Laden?
I don't know.
See ya.
I don't know. She just walks away. They love to walk away. Finnerty's up next. You know, isn't it crazy that we have such a free society that you're allowed to mourn the Ayatollah, you know, one of the worst people that's ever lived. You can just publicly mourn that person. If you flip that around, imagine mourning the death of a great American leader in Iran, what they would do to you.
Two things. I, first of all, don't really know how to say his name either. Nor have I tried to learn
Khamenei.
it. No, I know, but like Khamenei, whatever his name is.
You
like,
gotta hawk it up.
He's the Ayatollah. I'm just going to call him the Ayatollah. Also, like A Star is Born, I think your producer, Brent, has like found his calling.
Yeah.
He's very good, very effective in that setting.
Yeah, and you got to elicit that rage out of these people too. You got to, and when they walk away, you know you did a good job. When you piss off a lib and they walk away,
you've won.
Job well done.
My producer tells me that the pronunciation is slightly different than the guy before this Ayatollah, to which I just say, stop, we're done. We're just, it's Ayatollah. It's not Meghan. We're going to move on from there. Rob, have a great weekend, bud. We'll see you Monday. Finnerty starts right now.
Okay.